Nathan Wright!
Don Alden, what's up?
Not much. What are you doing? You're going to school, right?
I am graduating from Columbia with my MFA in playwriting in about 27 days.
Kicks ass. How long have you been in school?
Well, I've been in school, I feel, forever. Do you mean like at Columbia? It's a 3-year program at Columbia. Before that, I was 4 years at Weber. Before that, I took like about a 1.5 year hiatus. I was at BYU before that. Before that, I was at UVSC. And before that, I was in the big school called The Mission. And before that, I was in high school. So I kind of feel like I've been
in school constantly.
My whole life.
Okay. Cool, cool, cool. And where are you from originally?
I was born in northern Michigan, raised in northern Minnesota until I was 15, and at 15 I moved to Orem, Utah.
Orem?
Orem. We'll move to Orem, Utah.
That's cool.
So and half my life.
Your whole family's Mormon?
They are. My parents are converts, but my mom and dad were baptized when my mother was like 8 months pregnant with me. So they were not raised Mormon, but
so you just made it born Mormon.
Just barely. We were actually sealed in the Idaho Falls Temple when I was like 2 or 3, or 2 maybe. So I was not born into the covenant. I was actually sealed to my parents in the temple because they were new members and crazy, like all new members are, you know.
Yeah.
Crazy.
So they had to go through that process of
calm down
a year and to go through the temple. And
yeah, and we were living in northern Minnesota at the time, and Idaho Falls was the temple district. Far, far away.
And why did
and then after that it was DC. Well, then after they finally built the Chicago temple, I think, when I was, you know, relatively.
And why did you guys move out west?
My dad finished up his school. He did his graduate work at BYU, and he now teaches at the Brigham Young.
Oh, your dad teaches at BYU?
Well, he is actually I don't know how much he's teaching these days. He's actually the director of collection development and acquisitions at the Harold B. Library.
Wow.
So he has a big old budget every year, and he has to make the Harold B. Library better and better. He and a couple other people are in charge of it.
So basically you grew up your whole life in the church. Since you were 15 you were in Utah.
Yeah, basically.
And, so this is the whole gay thing, so.
Yeah.
When did
the gay thing happen?
Yeah, when did that start?
When did I realize that I could touch the gay?
Yeah.
I realized I had to touch the gay. Probably when I realized what gay was, is when I realized that I had.
You're like, oh, that's me.
Well, actually, I think at a very early age, and my mother even actually says this, she's like, you were always like that. But she doesn't necessarily say, oh, I always knew you're gay, you were just always different. Like when you have discussions with your parents or with people, maybe some people don't have this discussion with their parents about what causes it or why certain people are, you know, and then always come the ridiculous cliched idea of nature versus nurture, which just is ridiculous anyway. But I remember my mom just saying, no, you always, you know, you were born that way. Like, now I don't know that she's saying you were born gay, but she's saying you were born with a specific set of, this is me interpreting my mother. My mother would never be so verbal. You were born with a specific set of personality characteristics and behaviors that I kind of always saw as part of this. So, but that wasn't your real question, was it? Your real question was, when did I start? Like I said, I think I always kind of was aware on some level that I felt a little different, right? Even at really as young as like in 2nd, 3rd grade, even maybe before that, I felt a little separate from that. I just felt like I really didn't fit in with the other guys in a weird kind of way, or my feelings for them were a little different or more intense, and I think I was really aware of that. Like, easily by 3rd grade, I was like, why are my feelings for these guys? I had lots of guy friends. I hung out with boys. And, you know, on the playground, and I had guy friends in the neighborhood that I hung out with. But I think I really early recognized that I was, like, having, like, crushes or something on them. You know what I mean? And I think about 85, where I would have been 10 in 1985, I think that was probably when we were watching the news, and that was like with the whole AIDS crisis kind of broke, and we were watching the news and there was a picture. They were, doing some footage of San Francisco, and there were 2 guys walking down the street, and one had their hand in the guy's back pocket, and the other had his other hand, so they're crisscrossing each other's back pockets. And and I was like, and I can't say in that moment I was like, that's me. Right. But I think that was the beginning of like a growing consciousness of that there is this identity, there is this thing called gay, and it means that 2 men have this type of relationship. And I think it wasn't until junior high that I think even in my own mind I said to myself, I think I'm gay, but I was very aware of an attraction to men. I was very aware of those feelings.
But you just didn't label it.
I didn't label it. I probably didn't allow myself to think that maybe this is just. It was very much, this is a problem I'm having. These are feelings I'm having. I've got to overcome them. I know I can change. These feelings are things that are unwanted, and I can change them, or I can overcome them. And I think really early on, it became connected to masturbation, and the whole idea of. I think the guilt that I experienced was centered around like the masturbation. And I never felt guilty about the feelings, really. The feelings always just felt very natural. I felt very aware of them. I even think I had some ability to express them in a way, toward just talking about my friends in a way that I maybe cached it in a way that seemed more platonic or benign. But I think I was, my feelings for my friends, or talking to my parents about my feelings for my friends, I was able to express those feelings, which now I very closely associate with my sexual identity. But I think as soon as I began masturbating, I think I really quickly associated it with that. So the guilt was around the act of the sex, but not around the feelings. So I think I can look back now and make that distinction really clearly. Anyway.
Any specific
masturbation stories?
No, like first relationship kind of thing, or first crush, or.
My first crush, there was this kid that lived this is really young. There was this kid that lived down the block named Chris Mace, who I look back now and he was just a buddy. He was just a really, really good friend. And we were close friends. We hung out all the time. My brother and I hung out with him. We'd play baseball, we'd play Star Wars stuff together. We'd play basketball together. I was never super good at basketball, but I mean, it was just like he was in the neighborhood kid. We were in the same class, but I always kind of I guess I always really did have a crush on him, And I remember it was devastating to me. Like in 3rd or 4th grade, I can't remember what grade it was. He had a birthday party, and he invited a fair amount of people, but he didn't invite me. And I was just like kind of devastated. And he was like, well, my mom said I can only invite this many people, and I had to make choices. And I was like, so that was painful. And I bet that would be painful for any kid.
Right.
Do you know what I mean? Whose friend? Because I think at that age, you're just friends. You know what I mean? It's only now looking back that I think, no, that's not true. I mean, at that time, I felt like weird about it. I felt like, why do I have such intense feelings about it, about him? But as I look back now, I can tell, I think any kid would probably feel hurt, and I think kids form attachments, and I think it's the way that socially men are socialized to not kind of talk about those feelings as much. Do you know what I mean? And maybe because I also was dealing with early sexual feelings, kind of got a little more anxious and fixated on them. You know what I mean? But I mean, I thought, and then as we got older and stuff like that, because I grew up in a really, really small town, very, very small town, and so we were always in each other's class. In junior high, it was really small junior high. You know what I mean?
But he was straight.
Yeah, in fact, I was just back in Minnesota, in Minneapolis, and was that's not where I grew up, but that's where the people I keep in touch with have moved, because nobody stays up north. But I was asking about him, and I think he's married. I think he actually got a girl pregnant in high school, and I think they were married for a while, but that didn't work out. I grew up in a really economically depressed area, but he was a good guy, But I think I had a crush on him. I would say that he was somebody he was a jock. He was a baseball player, and I think I've always been kind of drawn to guys like that. That may be where it started.